This is my video for my research paper, Louisiana Creoles in the Color Line 1890 to 1910. The, my primary research mode for creating this research paper was a myriad of academic papers, textbook articles, articles from websites, and things of that nature to try to further gain knowledge to illustrate my point. The period I researched was a period often called the nadir of American race relations by many scholars, which lasted between post-Reconstruction to the late 1920s. And the reason that this period is called the nadir of American race relations is because all the rights that were gained by black people and by proxy other non-white people in America were systematically rolled back by white supremacist power structures in the South and all across America. For example, in Wilmington, which was a majority black town at the time, I believe, there was like the town council was the town council, which had been elected by the black people and had and was majority black at the time, I believe, was completely eradicated by a white supremacist group and replaced with an all-white city council, and due to the aftermath of that, the black population of Wilmington, North Carolina, completely plummeted and never recovered past. It was majority black at the time, and it's only gone to about a fifth black today, and that took place in 1898, like smack dab in the middle of the time period that I'm talking about in this paper. To to examine this from a unique point of view, the group I chose to examine for this paper is the Louisiana Creole group, due to their unique place in the color line and the structure of the southern United States and of America. The Creole people offered to me, at least, a unique perspective due to their mixed race nature, and what can be, which is the hard and short of it, the most in the most racist area of an incredibly racist country at the time. They show the work, like the pure, just brutal, dirty work needed to maintain white supremacy, to keep white supremacy active and not just decaying. It needs so much work done. It just it doesn't just happen. That's why I chose them, and that's why I chose to create this research paper. Prior to the creation of this paper, I had very minimal knowledge of Creole history and Creole culture and all their baggage, as it were. Outside of a few lyrics of Beyonce mentioning her Creole heritage and a few of her songs, I would be drawing blanks if you had asked me about Creole culture, Creole people, Creole history of that nature before the beginning of this project. And I have gained such a deep appreciation for the culture and its persistence to exist, and Creoles continuing to fight for their right to be recognized as a unique culture, a unique group in America, and not just as another group of black people, as another group of black people, for example. I did my division of research was so that I could have a clear and concise way of saying what I meant. I chose to divide them based on a few very key legal decisions for Louisiana Creoles during this time period, such as how the Creoles had to choose like a race due to miscegenation being outlawed in Louisiana, and and following the aftermath of those decisions, how the Creoles reacted to this. Main, One of the major reactions to many of these decisions was for the Creoles. Sorry, was to flee to like become a part of the Great Migration, as many African Americans was doing the Great Migrations from the Southern United States. So I believe that this was a very good way to divide the research that I completed. My thesis is a very simple one. I chose this area of history to show how pernicious and insidious white supremacist ideology can be and how it can embed itself into the law and why we must combat it. And I chose the Creoles because as I said earlier, they show that a large amount of work involved in maintaining white supremacy to combat the idea of segregation or racism. We have to acknowledge the work that white supremacy has to do to keep people separated from each other. And it's not a rational or natural position of humanity to segregate or to be racist, like how some white supremacist groups would claim. White supremacy and racism and structural racism has a lot of work being done behind the scenes to keep it empowered, to keep it working. There's a lot of moving parts into these things, and it's not just the way of the world, as it were. Uh, the biggest useful source of the five that I used of course, would be a paper called Creole Is and Creole Ain't, Diachronic and Synchronotic Attitudes Toward Creole Identity in Southern Louisiana, co-authored by Sylvie Dubois and Megan Melicon. This was a great paper defining legal decisions and that affected Creoles and the reactions of Creoles to those decisions. It was this was if there was any like of the if I was to have to say what was the main paper that I used, I would say that this paper that I just stated would be the main paper that I used. My final thoughts on this project and on this class. This project, it was an immense undertaking for me. It really challenged me to expand my horizons in my mind and how I thought about things, how I thought about history, how I thought about certain groups. So I'm glad that I did this project, and I'm glad to feel like I have grown as a writer from this experience. And I'm glad to have taken this class because it was very entertaining. It was very thought provoking. It expanded my mind to a great deal, and and it and it and it showed me so many things about how to fight racism and things of that nature. So thank you for having this class for me to experience.